everyone, I'm Colleen with Awaken Catholic, and this is Awaken the Saint. Today, March 15th, is the feast day of Saint Louise de Marillac, who had the rare honor of being close to two people who would later be declared saints themselves. Unfortunately for her, having such exceptional connections did not guarantee that her life would be easy. Louise was born out of wedlock in 1591, never knowing her mother. Her father also died when she was only 12, leaving her bereft of both her natural parents. Fortunately, she was still looked after by her remaining family and provided with a good education at the Royal Monastery of Poissy. Louise felt called to the cloistered life, but when she applied for the Capuchin nuns at 15 years old, she was turned away. Years after this crushing rejection, her family managed to convince her that she was better off getting married. In 1617, in her mid-20s, Louise married Antoine Legras. While she still had her doubts about marriage, they were soon dispelled. She learned to love her husband and their son, Michel. During her married life, she was an active part of her parish community. She led the Ladies of Charity, a group of women who assisted those struck by poverty and illness. She also consulted Francis de Sales for spiritual direction, the first of the two saints she was in contact with. Things were looking great for Louise, but in 1621, her husband fell gravely ill. She nursed him devotedly, but despite her best efforts, it seemed like nothing could be done. After 2 years of watching Antoine's health decline, Louise fell into a bout of depression. She despaired at the thought of losing him, and she felt guilt and regret over not pursuing her goal of becoming a nun when she was younger. Plagued by these doubts, she prayed fervently, and on the Feast of Pentecost, she was given an answer. Louise was told to remain with her husband, and in time she would be able to make vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. She also received a vision of the new spiritual director she would soon have. After her husband died, she encountered Vincent de Paul, the second saint she would know in her lifetime, whose face she recognized as the one in her vision. Vincent de Paul did not want to be Louise's spiritual director at first. He had a lot on his plate at the time, including the Confraternities of Charity, a group that aided the poor and cared for neglected children. There was too much work and not enough workers, and de Paul, realizing this, invited Louise to be a part of the effort. Louise showed great aptitude in this assignment, expanding Vincent de Paul's mission by creating the Daughters of Charity. She wisely enlisted the aid of women with humble livings, the kind of people who could work more easily with those who were destitute and suffering, and helped them deepen their faith at the same time. The Daughters of Charity grew to have over 40 houses in France, and in 1655 they received official approbation. Louise continued to lead them until her death in 1660, just 6 months before the death of her friend Vincent de Paul. Life is full of difficulty, and St. Louise experienced that firsthand. But even after failing to become a nun once, and even after losing her husband, she kept praying, believing that God had a plan for her. When our lives are hard, when we are experiencing loss, we can always turn to prayer, knowing that He is listening. St. Louise, pray for us.